So today I thought I would start a new little series with a little help and inspiration from my mom on what it was like to be in the service industry. So just to kind of start it off, service industry is any job which requires you to interact with customers on a level of service. So you could be a waitress, you can be a person who works with Disney and the parks that are interacting with guests that are there every day. You can be somebody who works in store and customer service department or just on the department floor helping people. You can be somebody who works with companies like direct and all of that good stuff. So it's a very broad industry, and it is all falling under the category of service. Mostly because that is the biggest point in your job, is to deliver service. So I kind of want to talk about it a little bit because it is just the wildest industry you can work for, because you get some of the best stories and some of the weirdest days of your life working in the service industry. So a little bit about my background is that while I was in college, I was a waitress for several years. I was also a bartender. I also worked with different, I blanked out on what it's called, internships with different groups of people, and I have always worked with people. My degree is in communications and theater, which means that I thrive on working with other people, and communication means that I'm really good at talking to different kinds of people in different capacities. So we're starting with my first job. So my very first job, I just finished my first year of college, and my dad said he didn't want to pay for my gas anymore. Gas is expensive. I can't pay for my gas. So it was time for me to get my first job. I had some time, and for the most part, my schedule with college was usually 2 to 3 days a week, depending if I managed to get a Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're in college or have been to college, you know what I'm talking about. So I could fit working into my schedule pretty easily. So I started applying like crazy, and if it's going to be your first job, you know that is the hardest thing to do, is get your first job, because everybody wants experience. It doesn't matter if it's entry level or just asking people, do you want fries with that? You still want experience. So it's really hard to find your first job. So applied everywhere like crazy, and I was losing my mind, like, why is nobody hiring me? I have a lot of volunteer experience. I'm a really hard worker. I've never said no. Like, come on. Finally, what it came down to was my uncle was looking for servers at a restaurant where he managed, and I went in he said, come in, fill out an application, I'll give you a quick interview, and I'll get you a job. And I said, cool. Some of the first things he said to me were, the reason I offered you this was because I know you, and I know you're a hard worker, and you're not going to make me look bad. And I said, cool, that's not at all a very high standard to put upon somebody on their first job, but okay. And, easiest interview really wasn't. I've had easier interviews since then, but he said it was going to be the easiest. Answered a few questions, filled out the application. I got started the next day. Came in, dressed and ready to go, put on the shirt that I needed to wear for it, and got started. The other server who they assigned to me, and we're still good friends to this day, but that was the worst way to train somebody, because I went up to her and said, okay, I'm ready to go. I want to learn. What do I got to do? And she said, I believe in on-the-job training. That's your first table. Good luck. They didn't like to use notepads to write down orders. You just weren't supposed to go up there and memorize what people ordered and then come back and put it in correctly. Not at all difficult for a first day. So, went to my first table. The first thing that they asked me, which is probably one of my still hated questions to this day, was, what comes on that? Listen, I started 5 seconds ago. I don't know what's on it, but let's look at the menu, see if we can figure it out. Pretty much read them the menu for all the items that they were asking, because I hadn't quite memorized it yet. got through my first day, did all right in tips, and learned a lot of interesting things that day. One of the first things is, if you are a waitress, I applaud you. Use your tips to buy good shoes. Because my feet ached for like the first 2 weeks until I got used to it, because I was on my feet all day. I almost never get to sit down. I think the only times I ever remember sitting down on that job was when it was raining, and it was notoriously slow when it rained. So I got maybe one table when it was raining. So I got to sit down for a few hours until either they decided to close or the rain let up and people started showing up. Otherwise, I was on my feet, I was mixing drinks, I was putting food order ins and making sure that people had what they needed, getting refills, the works. One of the biggest lessons I learned from it was stay on top of it and keep an eye on people. So people like you to anticipate what they're going to need, and so if they're running low on a beverage, you can run over and ask them, or you can just run over and drop off a new drink for them if they need it. And I went with the latter because asking people, I always got the dirty look of, you're interrupting a conversation. It's like, I'm sorry, I thought you wouldn't want to run out of Dr. Pepper or water or soda or your Diet Coke. So I just decided to opt for, let's just give people stuff. The only times I really ever asked people if they wanted a refill was if they were drinking something like an alcoholic beverage, where refills, A, were not free, and 2, monitored, because I don't want you to walk out of here drunk. So, kind of getting through my first day and that first job, I worked there for about a year, and management changed and got crazy, and they were changing the menu, and it got to the point where I was like, there's nobody coming in here, and when they are, I'm not getting good tips. So I decided to leave to my second job. But I managed to get all sorts of really cool and weird stories, as well as some really good experience to get me my second job, which, surprise, surprise, was also a waitress job. I remember kind of just some of the weird stories that happened. One of them was, so just a little backstory on that. I was 19 when I started working there as a waitress and a bartender. Something that people don't always know is that, yes, you can bartend even if you're not 21. Because in order to get your TABC license, you have to be, I want to say 18 or older. It could be 19, but I was already 19, so it didn't matter. Either way, I got my TABC license, and I learned from an amazing bartender who taught me all of the tips and tricks and how to pour quicker, because people want their drinks, and they want their drinks now. So I'm 19, I'm figuring stuff out, I'm trying to do a good job and get good tips and learning and all of these things from all of these different kinds of people, hearing all of the stories about one waitress told me that an older gentleman came in, ordered one beer, paid with a $100 bill, and told her to keep the change. I never met this man, and I don't know if he's real or not, but I hoped every single day that I was a server that I would meet him and he would give me the same treatment. Never met him. I still secretly hope he exists and I eventually go back to waitressing and meet him, because that would be amazing. But I ended up with my own group of stories, a lot of which I always question how they happened. So, story number 1 was, there was a group that would come in of older bikers, and I remember one guy kind of called me over, and they were very strange. They said they come here a lot, and I needed to memorize what it was they ordered so that the next time they came in, I just walked to their table with whatever they drank last time. I assumed that they were in there every week and I would eventually get a hang of it. No, they went there maybe maybe once a month. You know how many tables a server will wait on every month? I did memorize people's drinks order after a while, but a lot of them were the people who were there every week and come and hang out. I knew their names. One of them even tried to set me up with their son. But if you're only going to come in here once a month, it's going to be really difficult for me to memorize who you are, what your name is, what your order is. I might recognize your face and know that you told me this next time, but I probably won't remember what your order was. Sorry. So he ended up coming in again the next time, and I didn't remember what they wanted. I said, just tell me what you want. They left me a really terrible tip. I'm talking like maybe $1 or maybe $2. And they ordered like 2 to 3 beers each. Yeah, that was one of those moments where I was like, I don't like you very much. I know everyone else seems to like you, but that just wasn't going to work for me. So if you're one of those kind of people, please understand that your waitress isn't trying to be mean or snarky with you. We just have a lot going on, and I was also in college. I was taking all of my courses. Waitressing wasn't my only job. The only people that I had to meet, things I had to memorize. I had a lot on my mind. Memorizing your order was not at the top of my priority list. Sorry. I'll get you your drinks pretty quickly, and I'll give you the best service I can give you, but just memorizing your order for whenever you decided to come in was just not going to be one of them. Another thing, next story. Yes, there's more than one at the first workplace. There was, I don't remember if he was in a group or he was by himself. I want to say he was in a group, but he was probably the creepiest guy I've ever met. Because he came up, I went up to his table, see if any of them needed anything, and I want to say that he asked me how old I was. Not the weirdest question I've ever gotten, so I just kind of rolled with it. I said, I'm 19. And his immediate response was, oh my gosh, I'm old enough to be your grandfather. Cool. Gonna move on past that. Followed by that he wanted to know if I was single and available. To me, that doesn't seem like the natural follow-up to, I'm old enough to be your grandfather. I still want to date you. I don't. That's never been, no. That wasn't going to happen. So I'm kind of panicking a little bit. I'm like, first server job. I'm 19 years old. I just got hit on by a guy who declared he was old enough to be my grandfather. And now and he probably doesn't even know that my parents and I are really close in age. So he might have been old enough to be my parents' grandparents too. Let's be honest here. And I'm just sitting there going, I don't want to be here. So I'm kind of looking around for help. The thing with the restaurant I worked in, if it was a slow day or it was early in the morning, there was usually only one server at a time. It was only during busy lunch hours that there was ever 2, maybe 3 servers, but usually 2. So I'm by myself at this point, and I'm freaking out. I'm looking for backup. My uncle walks in, and he's going from the back to the front, so he passes by. I kind of looked towards him for help. He didn't notice me. Thanks for that. And kept walking, but the guy noticed that I'd looked at him, and he goes, oh, is that your boyfriend? I was like, oh, okay, this conversation needs to end now. No, that is not my boyfriend, that is my uncle, but if I need to tell you that he is my boyfriend so you can leave me alone, I will. I'm going back to the bar now. You need anything? No? Cool. I won't come back until your plates are empty. Bye. Yeah, they left. I not a significant tip to me because I don't remember if it was a good or bad tip, so it's tip man left. I don't think he ever came back, and if he did, I just tried really hard not to make eye contact. Let's see, next stories. We had some regulars that came in. We had some guys, I still remember to this day, there was one guy that would come in. He was a trucker, he had a couple kids, he was divorced, and he would always come in and order Buchanan's or Bucanas, depending who you ask, and it would be a double shot with water. Because he came in at least once a week. I remembered his order, and it's been many years since I was a server, and I still remember what this guy wants, and if I ever see him again, I will probably still recognize him, and don't remember his name, but I'd look at him and say, double shot of Buchanan's with water? He was a really sweet guy, and he would always come in, and we would chat, and there would be a couple of other guys that would come in and order with him, but his memory was very distinct. I do remember, though, that his son, or one of the other guy's sons, was visiting this time, and he'd mentioned that his son was single before, and brought him in this one time and had said, hey, this is that cute server girl that I was telling you about. And you could just see the son was like, why? And I was standing back there going, same boat. I'm just sitting here going, why? I am paid to be here. That's why I'm here. I figure your father's buying you your drinks, and that's why you're here. But we're all not comfortable with this situation that's going on right now. But we got through the night. Everything was okay. I think his dad convinced him to give me his number. Nothing happened. I didn't call. I don't think he wanted me to either. We both just moved past it, but I don't think his son ever came back to that bar. He seemed like a sweet guy, but we were just both very uncomfortable with what was happening. Another story is probably one of my favorites because it was one of the weirdest things that has ever happened to me. Not including everything that's already happened in my stories. And it was Halloween. I want to say it was the first Halloween as a server. Might have been the second. But Halloween, I'm behind the bar. So the way this restaurant worked is there was a front bar, which is where the restaurant was, and then there was a back bar that acted a little bit more like a club. There was live music, and they always had a Halloween bash. It was a really popular thing during this time, so there was always a bunch of people there, and we get people coming in all the time, and there would be waves of people. This was a little bit of a slower day because they'd already started to change some of the things that everybody loved about this place. A little bit about the menu, the service, the people. And so some of the business started to slow down. So it was a little bit of a slower Halloween. And I want to say it was the middle of the week. So I'm sitting here, or standing behind the bar, serving people as they're coming, doing my job. And typically the front bar will close right around 10 o'clock. Just because that's when the back bar is fully stocked, all the people are back there, they're ready to go, and they move the entrance from the front door restaurant to the back door where people can just go into the club area. However, the new manager wanted me to stay there until 2 a.m. because that's when he was convinced that it was going to be ridiculously busy, but I had already told him. I was like, look, it's probably 8 or 9 o'clock when I told him this, and I was like, it's been pretty consistently slow. I really don't think it's going to be a busy night as you are hoping, because usually, and if you work in a bar, you know what I mean, there's waves that come in. So there's usually one around 8 or 9 o'clock where people who are coming in, they want to eat, and then they want to get started on their first couple of drinks, but they want to eat so that they're prepped for the night. And then there's another wave that usually comes at about 10 o'clock of the first couple people who are coming out to drink and have fun. And then there's another one about 11, 12, 1, and then it slows down because it's towards the end of the night. It's about 8 or 9 o'clock and the bar's pretty dead. There's not a lot of people here. There might have been one table that was eating and waiting for the back bar to open. I told him, I was like, I really don't think it's going to be busy. I had to stay there till, I want to say 11 or 12, and I was like, I was really banking on leaving when you told me I was going to leave because I have class tomorrow. But I'm here, I'm doing my job, people are coming and going, and you get the waves, the costumes, all of the cool people that are coming through, and I'm just watching people walk, and I'm like, hey, y'all look pretty good. And then I get this one guy who comes in a penguin suit with a little bow tie. I gotta admit, it was a cute costume. But he comes through and he sits down and he orders a drink. I serve him. Orders another drink a little while later, so I keep serving him and we're chatting because, again, it's not very busy. He's probably the only person who's sitting at my bar right now. The other people have left. There's a couple people that come by, ask for a drink, pay, and leave to the back, and that's usually how it goes. But this guy's still sitting there and chatting. After a while, as I mentioned in my last video, I'm a little oblivious when people are flirting with me. After a while, a little light bulb goes off and goes, I think this guy's flirting with you. I don't think so. Yeah, no, this guy's flirting with me. So now it's a little bit awkward because I've finally caught on to what's going on, or what's been going on for the last hour, I'd say. And it's still slow. I'm still not making enough tips, being busy enough to stay here. I'm tired because I've been there for many, many hours by this point. So I finally go to my manager and say, look, can we just close it up? It's a very slow night. Nobody's stopping here. It's costing you more to keep me here than anything else. Finally convinces him to let me go home. So I'm starting to clean the bar. I haven't closed this guy's tab yet because he's still there, he's still drinking. That's fine. I'm cleaning up, so you can really still clean up a lot of the stuff. Cleaning up, getting everything sorted out. Finally, I'm done cleaning. I'm kind of ready to go. I say, okay, I'm leaving. I need to close out your tab. He says, okay, and then he starts the lines that if you're a server, you've probably gotten them at least once. It was really nice chatting with you, and you seem like a really nice person. I would really love to see if we can meet up again later, and all of the stuff that people always ask. I'm working. That's why I'm being nice. I also would really love a good tip. Get him his check, cash him out. Once the card has been swiped, you sign it, you put the tip, the total, and everything, and you close out and you're done. Get all of that sorted through. I do remember he left a good tip. However, I was still only there because I needed to work. So get through it. Get him, he left a nice tip. He put his number on the top, which if you don't know, and you're a guy watching this who's trying to hit on a server, we turn in those receipts, so we don't actually get to keep them. We give it to the manager because that's where it shows on paper that you've given us a tip and we're not just making it up. So I don't get to keep that. I didn't also want to. I could have taken a picture of it. So we get through, and I'm finally trying to leave, and then finally convince this guy to leave while I'm also hanging out with the guy who does security, and he's the bouncer. Hanging out with him, being like, I might need to be walked to my car if this guy won't stop talking to me. So finally get him to stop. He gives me his number. I close out my cash register, turn in my money, and I leave to go home. And that is my favorite story because people still don't believe me when I tell them I've been hit on by all sorts of weird people while I'm working, including a penguin in a bow tie. I hope you enjoyed listening to all of the fun stories. At the end of the day, I learned so many amazing things in this job, including how to be a good waitress and how to do customer service even in the most awkward and uncomfortable situations, learning how to handle people who are angry and upset over things that were out of my control, handle people who were very sweet, some people that were overly sweet and giving me their number or their son's number. And it was a lot of good learning experience. So there was a lot of benefit to working there. And at the end of the day, I got fun stories. Like, I got hit on by a penguin on Halloween when I was 19. Thanks for watching.